She's the content marketing manager at Tailwind, who has more than once been accused of a Pinterest obsession. She's a blogger, speaker, and author. She's a big believer in the power of visual marketing, and she is on a mission to help businesses find their creative side in order to appeal to customers in a whole new way. Elisa Meredith, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you for that enthusiastic introduction.
Well, you're worth it. First of all, you're back. So I should have said welcome back to the Agents of Change podcast.
Oh, yeah,
not just welcome.
It's been a while.
This is not your first rodeo.
It is not. Thank you for having me back.
It's always a pleasure. And this is an area that I'm really weak on. In fact, we're going to be doing this a little differently than normal. If you're just listening to the podcast as usual, don't worry too much about it. But Elisa's actually going to take the Dumpster Fire, which is the Flight New Media Pinterest account, and try and help us move forward with it. Something that I've just been dreading because I can't figure out Pinterest, but she's really going to help us. But I figured maybe what we could do is we could record this session too. So if you are wanting to see what we're talking about, you can also watch the recording. I'm recording it right now. We're going to put it in the show notes. But if not, I'm going to do my best to kind of explain what's going on anyways. So this will be like baseball on the radio kind of a thing. All right. So anyways, Elisa.
You've always wanted to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Elisa, tell me a little bit about why Pinterest is having a little bit of a resurgence, especially around bloggers.
Well, first I got to tell you, when I go to Social Media Marketing World, and I spoke for the second time this year, people come up to me and say, I know I'm leaving so much money on the table by not utilizing Pinterest, or I don't do anything with Pinterest, but it gives me so much website traffic. And I think to myself, yeah, I hear you, and you're going to tell me the same thing next year.
Guilty.
Yeah, that's right. So we were both at Social Media Marketing World, and Mike released some of his stats from his survey. And I don't know if you remember that pie chart that showed the percentage of people who said such and such social platform was their number one, their most important platform. And Facebook was up around 62%, 67%, something like that. And Pinterest was at about 2%. Mm. And I'm sitting next to Kate All of Simple Pin Media, and we just looked at each other and shook our heads because the behavior of marketers is not reflective of the efficacy of the platform. So yeah, that may be what marketers are reporting, but I suspect it has a lot more to do with where they're putting their energy, and probably has to do with paid advertising as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what we started to talk about and what we're starting to see are the effects of Facebook further reducing the reach of our content on the platform. Now, the numbers that have come out, I've shared a link to the BuzzSumo article, so we can share that in the show notes, as well as a Shareaholic study that shows that the share of visits by social from Facebook went down 25% year over year, while the share of visits by Pinterest went up 27%. So if you're watching, there's this graph, and you can find it in the report at that BuzzSumo link, that shows, I'm not going to find it now, but it shows the traffic from Facebook down. Here it is. The traffic from social going down, the traffic from search going up, and at some point they met, and now search is far above it. Now, Pinterest is also a search engine. So somewhere along the way, the graph for Facebook as it goes down and the graph for Pinterest as it goes up are going to intersect. Now, whether that's going to be this month, this year, I'm not really sure, but the trend that we're seeing shows it's going to happen. So I think that people are feeling a little bit desperate about Facebook and are looking for alternatives. And for some people, Pinterest seems to be it.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I will be honest that I haven't been bullish on the organic reach of Facebook for about 5 years. And we're a social media agency. I haven't seen the ROI there unless I'm talking as Rich Brooks and not as Flight New Media or the Agents of Change.
Exactly.
And with Pinterest, I just feel like there's a lot more evergreen content up there. There's a lot more opportunity there. And if I'm looking for new ways to share it, and that BuzzSumo report basically says sharing is down across the board. But, LinkedIn, Pinterest could be two bright places where people are still continuing to share or moving their shares there because of the Facebook algorithm. I am believing that for Flight, for Agents of Change, for our clients, and for basically anybody who's creating content out there, that you need to be taking Pinterest more seriously. And it's not about weddings anymore, and it's not about interior decoration or recipes. Those will always be popular on Pinterest, but there's going to be opportunities for all of us content creators out there, which is why I'm telling my team, like, we just need to take this a lot more seriously.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. Okay, and I'm going to follow up to make sure sure it's happening. Okay, so it's a social, gets lumped in with social networks, but of course it is a search and discovery engine. So I think it will really appeal to you once you start getting into it, because there are those aspects of SEO.
Right, and I think that's what people, marketers especially, need to think about it. It's not a social media platform like Snapchat or Twitter. It is really, would you call it a search and discovery engine?
Oh, I would. I have.
Yes. So I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So those are the reasons why I'm taking things more seriously. As I did mention before, I look at Flight's account and I think of it as a dumpster fire. So somehow I convinced Elisa. So I've got 3 accounts there, actually. There's Flight New Media, there's Agents of Change, and there's the Rich Brooks. Or actually, no, we discovered there is no the Agents of Change.
I was going to say, did you find that
somewhere? No, I do not believe that we ever set that up. And it was just, time-wise, we just never did. That's probably a terrible idea. And I more or less have been using the Rich Brooks as a bridge between AOC and Flight, mostly with AOC. But I'm thinking that really this would be a good opportunity for us to launch a new account for Agents of Change. But why don't we start by talking a little bit about Flight New Media? I gave you access to the account for you to take a look. And what should we talk about? Where do we start for all the people out there who are like, oh my God, I'm afraid to even look at my Pinterest boards because it's just so terrible and messy and off-brand?
Well, where do we start is the question. So I'm going to start with your profile. How's that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we do have, let's see, Flight New Media. All these fields here, these are important for SEO. So we see that your username here is Flight New Media. Not awesome for SEO. Okay. Also, Flight New Media, also not awesome for SEO. So something for you to consider. Now, I don't know how many links you have out there to your profile that could be ruined if you change your username. But this right here, Flight New Media, for your name on your account is definitely worth a look, because nobody's going to search that. And I'm not saying,
or if they do, they're going to find us, I assume.
Right, and it's not because you don't have a fabulous brand. It's just because people on Pinterest don't search for brands typically, and 97% of the searches are unbranded. So you're much better off to go for keywords that talk about your industry, your services, than your brand name. Now, what you could do is, let's see, web design and internet marketing -- Flight New Media. So people know they hit the right place, right? Depending on if you can fit all that in there. Now,
do you know what the length of what are we calling that, the title?
You would ask me that, wouldn't you? I don't remember. Remember. You could just go into settings.
We'll max it out. But yeah, so if I said something like you said, web design and internet marketing -Flight or -Flight New Media or whatever it might be, that would be better. Okay.
Yep. Now you've got your website here, which is good because that's your one do follow link from Pinterest. So that's nice. Now you have Portland, Maine. Are you going after the local market? We're looking at the description now.
Right. So we do go after the local market, but whether I want to lead with that and basically tell everybody else that why don't you work with a local vendor where you live is not really what I want to go after.
Right. So what we could do, we can go into settings here and we can look at your profile. So this is where it comes from. Location Portland, Maine.
Okay.
What I prefer to do is to put in the area you serve. So you could do Portland, Maine if that's what you want to make clear. I would do nationwide, or I leave it blank because otherwise it can be kind of limiting.
I have to think about that because part of our brand is Maine, or even Portland, Maine. In fact, the photos from our website all come from Portland, Maine. But maybe there's another way to do that. You know, the photos on our website come from Portland, Maine, but we don't specifically say it's from Portland. It's like anybody from Maine knows it's Portland, Maine, but anybody else just looks like, oh, that's a hip town that they have photos of.
Right. So it's kind of an inside story. Okay. I understand. Okay. So you have Flight New Media here. You in the name. You also have it in the description. So I feel like Flight New Media is, unless it's not obvious from the name, I don't think you need to repeat it. So instead, you could just start with web design and internet marketing company that helps small businesses grow. We don't build websites, we build businesses. I think there's probably some keyword strategy you could work up to make this work a little better. So just a quick primer on Pinterest keyword strategy. If you go up into the search bar, as I'm doing, and you type in internet, oh, it's going to bring up intermittent fasting. No, we don't want that. We want internet marketing. And you can see that it gives you suggested searches like internet marketing tips, tools.
Let's actually, could you switch that to digital marketing? Because that's what we say we do these days anyways, just to see if it's any different.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Oops, I forgot. Okay, digital marketing strategy.
Yep.
So that's probably a good phrase for you to be using.
Absolutely.
The other thing is when you hit enter after you put in a search in the search bar, it brings up these tiles below the search bar that give you words that Pinterest is telling you these are words that people search for in connection with that base keyword. So digital marketing career, digital marketing strategy, digital marketing ideas, checklists, infographics, social media, all of these tiles here are going to form the basis for your keyword list on Pinterest, which I imagine is probably a little bit different from your Google keyword lists. Is that right? Just looking at it quick.
Only because digital marketing is more of that overview or umbrella term where then we might also want to dig deeper into, say, SEO, social media, maybe specific platforms on social media, Google Analytics, web design, that sort of stuff.
Right. But if you were to do keyword marketing or keyword research for digital marketing for your use on Google, do you think that the combination of keywords would look the same? Would you see strategy?
I see some. I mean, career, I don't care about strategy, but quotes, I probably wouldn't do a Google thing on quotes, but I could definitely see using that on Pinterest for sure.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. Okay, so sometimes the difference that you see is related to the difference in the location of pinners in the funnel. Right. So on Pinterest, they tend to be much higher up in the funnel. They don't really know what they want. Whereas when they go to Google, they have a pretty good idea what they're looking for. So in Pinterest search, when you're doing keyword research, you're going to see some things like ideas or tips or hacks or words that really reflect that people are just looking to be directed. So your keywords will probably be a little bit different. So going back to your profile, so I would do that keyword research and make sure that those keywords get into your description because they're not really there right now.
Makes sense.
Okay. So we won't even talk about your pins at the moment. We're going to look at your boards.
Just for you guys listening right now, Elisa's like one of the sweetest people on the entire planet, but I told her she could be brutally honest and we'd still be friends at the end. So please don't write her anything nasty, even if she's mean to me.
Yes, Rich told me I could be mean. Okay. So I'm trying to pull up your boards here so we can look at some of your board titles. This is the spinning wheel of...
The spinning button.
The spinning button that you saw earlier. Yep. Come on now. Come on, you can do it. Okay, that's not going to pull up. So here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to look at it in Tailwind.
Okay.
So I also bullied Rich into starting a Tailwind account. I work at Tailwind, but only since May, and for years I have made all my clients, use Tailwind because there are some analytics in here you can't get anywhere else, and I needed them for planning. So what I'm looking at now is the Tailwind dashboard, and I'm looking at board insights. Okay, so what this is showing me are your most successful boards. This can be super helpful if you somehow ended up with 100 boards, and you know you need to consolidate, but you're not really sure which ones to prioritize. Just looking at them in Pinterest, it's hard to tell which is working. So you can look at, and I prefer to look at virality score over engagement score. And what virality score is just the number of repins for every pin that's on the board. So looking at this one, we can see that your top board, which is called Mainer Stuff, so you are doing well, becoming a main brand, you're getting 8 repins for every pin. That's really good.
Sweet.
But is it really serving your purpose?
It is probably not bringing us in any additional business.
Okay, well, it might be just a fun board to keep, and I think because you are concerned with the local market, there's a good argument for keeping it. So from here, you can go right to the board on Pinterest, or you can click through on the board title to analyze each and every pin in the board to get more of an idea of what works.
Okay.
You can also use this little button to find similar content that you can save right from here if you want to. But let's go down your list, make sure we're sorted by virality. Okay. Geek Stuff, that one does pretty well.
Again, it seems to be a little bit off-topic stuff, though.
It does, and that's what's frustrating about being a content creator on Pinterest. For a while, I was combining my own personal interests with my business boards. So I had my blog board, and then I had a board on ketogenic diet desserts. So annoying, the ketogenic desserts one.
Just crushed everything else, yeah.
It did crush everything, so guess what? It's gone. But yeah, so Geek Stuff got a virality score of 2.29. That's pretty good. Now here, social media and web marketing. If I can interrupt you
for 1 second, Lisa, because this actually brings up a question that we might get to later. But you said you got rid of it. Did you move it to a different account?
No, I put it secret. I set it to secret so that it wouldn't show up in search. Nobody could see it on my profile, but I could still use it, and the people I'd shared it with could still use it.
Is there a way to move, if you are, like, for example, I've got the Rich Brooks account where I've basically shared every single interview I've done on the podcast. Is there a way I can take all that work and move it to a new account, one that I would set up for the Agents of Change?
No, but what you could do is you could, you're going to log into and we still need to talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, but we're assuming you're creating an Agents of Change Pinterest account.
We are.
So you're gonna...
Nothing's stopping me.
I'm not sold on that yet. Okay, so we're going to create that account. We're going to log in as Agents of Change. Then we're going to visit the Rich Brooks, and we're going to find that board with all those pins on it. And then you're just going to repin every single one of them to a new board. So it doesn't take that long.
No, and this is why I have coworkers anyways. I'm just going to assign this to somebody. The power of delegation.
That's right. They can be having a snack and drinking a cup of coffee, and it will be no big deal. Okay, so you need a board for all your blog posts. So every account that I create or work on will have one board that is only their own content.
Okay.
The reason for that is it creates a unique board on Pinterest. So you can bet nobody else is creating that board. And those tend to rank very highly, and they tend to have a very high virality score because there's nothing else like it on Pinterest. You've created something special. So you need that. Funny social media content, maybe. We're getting down into some lower numbers for our virality score.
And some of it is we haven't been posting regularly to this. So I think some of the stuff just doesn't... If you're not posting something in digital marketing fresh, no one's going to be reposting it either.
Well, Pinterest is a little bit different, which is one of the other things I love about it. It's very forgiving. So a pin can last forever, especially if other people start to engage with it. But like a board with 6 pins on it, it doesn't have a good chance.
Is there a minimum number of pins you might recommend for these boards?
I like to, before I even set them public, so I usually create them as a secret board. I'll fill it up with about 20 pins or so at least, just to get started.
Okay.
If you can't find 20 pins that fit in there really well, like 20 of your own articles, you probably don't need that board.
Okay.
Okay. So here's something that I think is super important about board insights in Tailwind is that you can see your group boards and how they're doing.
Now, what are group boards for those of us who don't know?
Okay, so it's a collaborative board. You can see it is designated in the dashboard by a little person, like 3 people icon. And what it means is that one person owns the board, but they've invited other contributors to the board.
Okay.
So the benefit of that is that it can get your content in front of people who are not in your audience through methods other than search. So if you own Gadgets Cafe and you invite me to pin, I can pin to that, and then my pins may show up in the home feed of your followers, even if they don't follow me and they don't do a search. So it's a good way to get your content in front of more people. The problem with some group boards is that they get too big and people spam them.
Right. So it's about putting together a really good group that maybe could be competitors of yours, but basically that you work together on this idea of creating something really valuable. And there's a Venn diagram of our followers, and we want to find those people who are maybe not in our circle, but in other circles. Our content that we share is going to get in front of that audience because they're following, in this case, the Gadgets Cafe. Did I get that right?
You got it. Very good. Yes, you got it. Okay, so, but you can see that the problem with being in a bad group board is that it brings down your virality score, and it brings down your quality as a pinner in Pinterest eyes, and that's we don't want that.
Oh, so there is a ranking system here that basically, because I'm in a bad neighborhood, so to speak, it might actually have a negative impact on how visible my pins and activity are.
You got it.
Nice.
So I would leave these right away.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And then, yeah, these didn't even get started.
And just for those of you who don't have a video up, these are things called like Gadgets Cafe, Resources and Good Finds. We've got something called Good Marketing Insight, Web Marketing Infographics. I wouldn't even say that these are the kind of, if I was starting from scratch, these are not the boards that I think represent my brand anyway, Elisa. When I think about what does Flight New Media do? We do website design, and within that we might say WordPress and mobile. We do search engine optimization. We do social media. We do digital advertising. We do content creation. And then, of course, there's that fun main brand that we've got going on. Yeah. If I'm starting from scratch, or if I'm thinking about overhauling this, should I instead be creating boards that are more relevant to the categories of products and offerings and services that Flight New Media sells?
You should. That is where you need to start.
Okay.
So you're gonna list out each of those services, and then you're gonna combine that with the keyword research that you're gonna do, and those will be your boards. You also, of course, need to look at the content that you're creating and think, what kind of board do I need for this content? And I assume it is pretty similar to the services that you offer, so that makes sense. But realize that you can have 2 similar boards, right, with a similar title but a different angle, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And you can pin your content to both. You should pin your content to both.
So let's say that I had one that was on social media strategy and another one that was specifically about Twitter. There might be stuff that would go to both Twitter and to social media strategy. And if I had a board that was specifically every blog post we've done in the past 5 years, and I had a Twitter blog post up there, it would also appear there as well.
Yes. Okay. So that's at least 3 boards, and then hopefully you have some group boards you can share to as well. And that's not only acceptable, it is recommended.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a link to the Pinterest has a fabulous resource page, and it looks basic, but it has some really great tips in there. One of them that used to be on there is not any longer, but it said pinning to related boards like that teaches Pinterest what your content is about. So it will start to make a connection between social media marketing and your Twitter strategy and your blog. So it starts to learn what that pin really is. So it will start to serve that pin out in more relevant places.
I'm just kind of blown away by how similar Pinterest and Google think in terms of putting together these connections and learning more about us by the way that we, in Google, there's good neighborhoods, and the kind of content that we share on our website influences how we do in other related searches. And it sounds like Pinterest is very similar in that regard. And if I was thinking about Pinterest as a social media site before this conversation, I'm definitely thinking of it more as a search engine after this conversation.
I'm so happy because I feel like that is right up your alley and that you're going to get into this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yay. Okay. So we're talking about boards to create, and I think you have a good start. Now, the next place we can go with that would be your Pinterest Analytics. So here we are in Pinterest Analytics, the people you reach section, and I have switched over to the Interests tab. Now you can select either everybody who sees your pin or just your followers. Your all audience didn't bring up very many results, so I'm going to go with your followers. So what this is telling you is that these are the other things your audience wants. And lucky for you, these are all pretty relevant.
So we're seeing social media marketing, internet marketing, social media tips, inspirational quotes, which we don't do a whole lot of, content marketing, social media, marketing strategies, life quotes, which I'm definitely not ever going to do, and web design. I just feel that other people have kind of cornered the market on life quotes, and there's very little I can add to that conversation.
You know what? I'm kind of with you on that. I have tried a little bit, but I just can't. It's just doesn't feel right. So this means, and a lot of people, when looking at their accounts, in fact, almost every other account I've looked at will have some kind of weirdly, seemingly unrelated interest here. But if you can get creative and create a board that's somewhat relevant, that can be helpful for getting people to find you. But what I'm going to do now is click on web design. I've clicked on that, and it brings up some more suggestions for us. So we have this web design, we have a bunch of pins, but in between the title and the pins, we have 5 tiles. One is web design layouts, web layout, website designs, website template, website layout. So here, again, is a real gold mine of information for you to figure out what kind of board name should I create. And if web design is a heavy focus for you, this is telling you that your audience is super into this, and it may be worth creating 2, 3, more even, boards with these names. So maybe you create website design or web design layouts and website designs, because those are a little bit different.
Sure.
Web layout, yeah. So it's just incredibly insightful, what these analytics here. Another thing you can look at is just below where it has boards, follower boards with lots of your pins. And what we're seeing is Barrel Lobe has a lot of your pins on the how-to board. We have Words to Live By, WordPress, Geeky Awesomeness.
I'm curious to know about this underwear board, but whatever.
I'm afraid to click.
Yeah.
But feel free to later.
Yeah.
But what I like about this is that, and as you start pinning, this will become more valuable to you. But it's going to show you how people see your pins. So what I'm seeing here is that people are seeing that your pins are good for marketing ideas or how-tos. But I've looked at accounts that were about marketing and then have seen that a lot of the boards that show up here are things like realtor marketing. So then I have to think about, would that be appropriate for me to create a board for real estate marketing or realtor marketing? Mm-hmm. If that's how people are already seeing my content and what I pin, should I be kind of catering to that? And maybe.
Right. So if I saw that, it may not be that I'm specifically targeting realtors, but apparently there's enough interest there that I should be creating a board about marketing for realtors, because that's going to get in front of even more people. It's the kind of stuff, it's what Pinterest is telling me that my audience is interested in. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so this one here, local search marketing, that could be a really good fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure why brands isn't showing up for you. We have a box, brands, businesses, your followers engaged. Usually you see a bunch here. Usually BuzzFeed is there and Etsy because they're just huge.
Right.
But if they show up there, you can those businesses your followers engage with and see what they're doing, see what ideas you can have for your account.
Okay.
So those are the boards you need. But that's not gonna do it for you, Rich.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I got some bad news. I'm looking at here. We're looking at pinterest.com/source/www.takeflight.com. What this is all the stuff people are pinning from your website to Pinterest.
Why are so few of them images?
What? Yeah, tell people what you're seeing.
Well, I see one, the most recent thing I did with a couple sharing a milkshake, and it says how to share your Google Analytics. But then a lot of them are just text boxes, Twitter, building the connections that drive traffic. Now, admittedly, that's from Blog World '08, but... and then I'm seeing some images that, some of them are the big header images that would appear at the top of our blog posts, but a lot of them are just random images from the page, probably not what I'd want to share. I mean, I do love Bob's Burger, but I just don't know if necessarily that's the one that I wanted people to share so that people would know. I don't know. It's messy. It's messy.
Yeah, it's messy. I'm sorry. It is. And these...
And one of them are recent. What is Bitcoin? What are cryptocurrencies? Bitcoin 101. Like, I could have sworn that there's a big image up there that's Bitcoin related. So I'm not really sure why we're not seeing that.
Well, nobody's pinned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
But wait, but why but they pinned the article, so I don't know why.
Oh, they pinned the article. Well... If you think about it, let's go to your website. So now we're looking at your website.
If you scroll down to the blog, or go to blog.
We're going to go to the blog. So let's do the Bitcoin one because that's the one that you mentioned. So what is Bitcoin? Clicking on that. I'm going to try and see what the browser extension pulls up for me. So what is going to save? We have the header image, what is Bitcoin? Okay, it is a very short image. Right, so It's your typical header style, which is wider than it is tall. Oops, and a little pop-up. Hey, okay. The other option we have is this automatically generated image, which pulls up a quote from the blog post and creates an image, which is not pretty, but it takes up more room in the feed than what you've offered.
Right. Okay.
So I'm probably going to pick this one. And when I do, at least it has a description. That's good.
Yay, us, sort of.
Yay, us. Are you using WordPress?
Yes. And so if you go to if you went to our Agents of Change, we will have one image that's more vertical that we use on Pinterest, and another version that we use on all the other social channels that's more horizontal. We haven't implemented that at Flight, and maybe that's just something that we need to come up with. Yeah,
you do. Yeah, so are you using Social Warfare or is it something
I am not. We're just using Yoast.
Okay. I love Social Warfare because you can have separate images, separate descriptions for the different sizes.
And you can do that in Yoast too. There is a social component of it. I don't know if it's as cool. I've heard great things about Social Warfare, but... Yeah.
They have some other features that I like too. But yeah, you need to give people better options for images to pin. Yep. Okay. So this is what people are pinning. Yeah. That was distressing.
I look at it as there's so much opportunity for me to improve.
Oh, that makes me happy because, yeah, you're right. Like, this is a good image here, how to share your Google Analytics. However, it's too small. And if you try to read that text over the image on the mobile...
When you say it's too small, it's too horizontal because it's a huge image, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you mean, right?
It's too short, yeah.
Right.
Just doesn't look that great in the feed. And also, if you try to look at it on mobile, you could not read that text. It's cute. It's yellow text on the image. It looks nice, but on mobile it would not be legible. And since like 80% of the traffic from Pinterest is on mobile, that's really important.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see what else we need to look at. Oh. So your content itself. I was looking at some of your pins, and I know it's not pulling up right now. You have some pins of your podcast episodes, which it's a pretty nice looking template, but it is a template, and it features faces very heavily. Mm-hmm. I would suggest that you try a test where instead of featuring the faces and the guest, you feature the topic.
Okay.
Right? Because people on Pinterest are looking to be inspired and informed and for it to be really useful, but they really don't care about people that much, which is in a way, a good thing, right? Because it gives us all an opportunity to have our content found as long as it's useful and we don't have to be recognized to get
All
our
right, so let's think through this. So I'm going to have my team use the template to create a horizontal and vertical version of you, and the title that we choose, and then basically, would I consider now for this podcast to maybe create another image so that people could choose from them?
Yeah,
like
I would.
Let's say that it's like how to put out the dumpster fire that is your Pinterest account, and I'm sure I could find some very cool image of a dumpster fire and then put the words underneath it or make it more vertical, and then make that the default share. But of course, people could say, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to share the dumpster fire. I think I'll just that woman looks really pretty and she's got red hair. I'm going to share her instead."
Why, thank you.
Yeah,
flattery will get you everywhere. But I will say, okay, so now we're looking at. Ooh, the pins did come up. Okay, so we can see, here's your Agents of Change podcast image.
Right.
And it has the guest at the top, Agents of Change logo, and then it has a lot of text on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still do that. Now, I will say that a dumpster fire is probably not awesome for Pinterest.
I'm so bad at this.
I know. No. You're okay, but you're coming at it from probably more of a Facebook angle, because I feel like that probably would work on Facebook. But on Pinterest, you want more of a lifestyle image, more inspiring and happy.
Okay.
So let's just look at it real quick. So Pinterest marketing secrets. We're just doing a little search in Pinterest, and we're going to see what catches our eye. And really, this is the best way to become good at Pinterest, is to use it yourself, because you can get yourself into the mindset of how people use it and what appeals to people. Now, I wouldn't suggest you do this for marketing. I suggest you do it for. I know you have hobbies. What are you into right now?
I'm actually planning a 1-month sabbatical, but with my 2 daughters, we're going to go cross country or take a month-long road trip in our pop-up camper. So I'm really interested in pop-up campers.
Okay, so you need to create a board for pop-up campers and start obsessively searching for that on Pinterest.
Okay.
And see what catches your eye, why you click on it, what makes you click, right? So let's just take a little look through this search result of Pinterest marketing secrets and see what catches our eye. This one here, I believe Tailwind promoted. Yes, we did. So it is mostly text on an image.
Yes.
Right, but it has kind of that a little artistic background which shows the Pinterest account behind it. So that one always catches my eye. I like this one here, right? It has kind of a lifestyle image. It's almost Instagram-y, but it does have text on it. Because as you can see, you're not really seeing much of the description. So if they had just posted the picture, in this picture we see it looks like it's on a table or a deck. We have a little succulent in the corner. Succulents are huge on Pinterest for whatever reason. And then I don't know.
No, my daughter's really into succulents too. And of course, the ones that are drawing your eye aren't necessarily the ones that are drawing my eye, but I'm listening to you because you know what you're talking about.
Okay, and then you're going to tell me which ones you like.
Okay.
But the important part here is that we have some text on the image, and also there's a little bit of branding. So she has her URL right in the middle at the bottom, which is a great place for it. Tailwind does something similar. We always have our logo on our pins. It's just a subtle way for people to know where I'm going to go when I click. Right. And that does help conversions.
And so, it's just great branding. I mean, to continually see your brand everywhere, people are like, you guys are everywhere.
Right, exactly. And then this one I like over here, how to find the best time to pin for Pinterest traffic. We have that flat lay behind it. Flat lays can do really well as a background for your Pinterest image, but you definitely are going to want that text overlay. I think the only ones who really don't need text overlay are product marketers, because you can tell what it is usually.
Right.
The rest of us, we need the text. So tell me what catches your eye.
All right, so part of it, if you scroll up to the top, since this is a Pinterest marketing board, almost everything is red. So immediately, my eye went to, in the second row, there's an opening Mac laptop that's blue with a little bit of glow. It reminds me actually of that scene in Pulp Fiction where they never see what's inside the case. There's just always this glow. So I think that's kind of a neat approach, and it's different than the other ones for sure. I don't love the way that the words were treated, but it did catch my eye. I like the one that you showed before about Pinterest. it's hard for me not to notice the one with all the bras all over it. But I do see a pattern of like a light, slightly transparent box with words on it over a background image that's eye-catching and somehow relevant. Like in the top row, there was one that was basically they took a picture of tools that should be horizontal and they just made it vertical by twisting it and then putting words on it. So, I could see taking some of the images that I'm buying at Adobe Stock Photo and maybe just giving them a vertical treatment rather than a horizontal treatment if I can get away with it.
Yeah, you can do that. Or when you buy the images, buy the largest size possible so that you can stretch them out and make that work as a background. Yeah, there's a lot you can do. Something else you might try is, you notice one of the ones that I loved is promoted. The bra one's promoted. The computer one that you liked is also promoted. Promoted pins do convert at a higher rate than organic. And I think it's only logical to assume that that has to do with the amount of effort that goes into creating a pin you're going to promote, right? So if you just do a control F, oops, I did that and it did something funny to our Skype, so I won't do that now. Don't want to come crashing down at the moment. If you do a control F or whatever it is on the PC and just search for promoted and look on that page at all the promoted pins, some of them are terrible, most of them are really good. And you can learn a lot about how to use them for yourself.
That's good advice.
Thank you. Just really briefly, because I know we're kind of running out of time, you're going to notice hashtags. Did you know you could use hashtags on Pinterest again?
I didn't know that they had stopped using it. That's how out of it I am.
I love it. Yes, they actually never really worked. But now they do. So the reason you want to use hashtags, if you look at your feed, it doesn't tell you when things were pinned. And because of the way Smart Feed works, it's a pretty good bet that it was at least 2 days ago, could have been weeks ago, months ago, even years ago. But if you use hashtags in the description on your pins, not repins, not promoted pins, but just if you're pinning from your website or you're adding a description for people to pin from your website, use a hashtag because it shows up in this hashtag feed. It shows up pretty much in chronological order. The first one was 6 minutes ago. And that's just something you don't get in the Smart Feed, in the regular home feed, is to see these brand new pins.
So the hashtags can give us an immediate boost, but then it actually might not hurt us long term, but it's not going to provide a whole lot of value after given a day or two, because depending on how popular the hashtag is. But we could definitely see our stuff start to disappear. Does it make sense at some point to go back to older posts and clean up the description and get rid of the hashtag?
No. And here's why. Because if you do use hashtags and they do show up here in your chronological hashtag search, which I don't know how many people are actually typing in the search bar hashtag Pinterest marketing, or it's probably mostly from people clicking hashtags and descriptions. But if your pin shows up here and somebody starts to repin it from this search result, that will really help your pin get out there more. So it not only tells Pinterest that, yeah, these pins are engaging, I need to be sharing them more, but it also means that other people are creating more instances of your pin out there. So it's something that, in this feed, it's an immediate benefit that, kind of goes away over time. But on the other hand, it starts helping you create that viral effect earlier.
This has been fascinating, and I know we're running out of time, but I just want to wrap up with a quick question, or if you can give me quick advice on. So you said at one point you're not sure if I'm going to, or you're not sure if I should start an account for Pinterest, for Agents of Change. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Because I would have assumed you would have loved the idea of doing an Agents of Change Pinterest account, so I'm kind of curious on that.
Okay. Well, how much content do you have to post to Agents of Change?
Well, from our own stuff, we have a weekly podcast, and then occasionally there might be some other stuff related. But of course, I would assume that we'd also be pinning other things that might be related to the different topics we cover, which admittedly has a big overlap with Flight New Media.
That's kind of what I was hoping you were going to say, because my gut says if you just focus all that time on one amazing account for Flight New Media, you can do it. So I would have one account for Flight New Media, have a board for Agents of Change, and then all your Agents of Change content also gets posted to all the relevant boards on Flight New Media. My feeling is that if you can concentrate your efforts on Pinterest search and on making really great images, I think you'll be better off to have it all in one account.
All right. I will take your word for it, at least until I ramp up my team, until there's so many people I've got to create another account. But we'll focus on improving Flight New Media rather than just adding another dumpster fire to Pinterest. So we're definitely...
Well, there are not going to be any more dumpster fires, and you know, if you wanted to, in your profile description, you could absolutely put in there like home of Agents of Change. Right. So you can make it obvious when people find you that they're in the right place.
Awesome. Well, Elisa, this has been phenomenal. And I say that with all intent. It's been amazing. It's been so helpful for me. Hopefully it's been helpful for everybody else. If people want to check you out, and they're idiots if they don't, but if they want to check you out, where can we send them?
We can send them to blog.tailwindapp.com. That's where I do most of my blogging these days. I also blog at elisameredith.com, mostly or almost exclusively about Pinterest advertising, and I have a course there as well.
All right. Well, we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. Elisa, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Rich. It was fun.